Since the general trajectory of YouTube has been pretty garbage in 2023 overall, thanks to the algorithm and doubtless a number of other factors as well, I thought, you know what, let's revisit some of the kinds of video that I used to do a lot, but kind of fell to the wayside for one reason or another. And one of those is, of course, old school games, like Project Gotham, Test Drive Unlimited, the older Forza titles, so I've dusted off the capture card, slapped it all together again with all the cables, way too many cables by today's standards, and booted up a couple of games, including this one. And we're jumping right back in with another one of the standout cars for me in Project Gotham 4, the TVR Typhon. Now this car was from a weird time period for TVR. A lot of you probably haven't even heard of the Typhon, I'm sure some of you have, but it's certainly not one of their best known cars. There was the Typhon, the Tuscan R and the T400 or the T440R with road and racing forms. I believe, if I recall correctly, it never really reached production, only a couple were ever made. I believe one was actually sold not too long ago in this same colour, of like that tungsten kind of silvery grey, which is why I had it in this colour in the game to drive it. But it's always been a car that just intrigued me. It's so weird, it's like this stretched, more touring style Tuscan layout, an incredible top speed, even by TVR standards. I think this is like a 205, 210 mile an hour car, even in real life. So in a game it has tons of potential, and in Test Drive Unlimited, for example, I believe I actually already talked about it in that game, it's genuinely one of the sleeper quickest cars in the game for top speed, especially when you tune it up. And yet, I believe mostly because of where it fell on the TVR timeline, since it wasn't too long before they went bust, it kind of gets forgotten. Most of the love from the twilight days of TVR tends to go to the Sagaris, for obvious reasons, and overall a lot of love goes to the more obvious choices of the Tuscan, the Cerbera, of course the Speed 12. These ones don't get as much love, even though they did race them. Of course, in the famous DeWalt black and yellow livery, gorgeous looking car. In this game, Project Gotham 4, it's a C-class vehicle and it has interesting numbers. Some quite strong ones here and there, but sometimes not as much. In terms of acceleration, it's ranked as an 8. That feels about right, and TVRs are certainly a standout in real life when it comes to their performance. They are so much quicker, in drag races in particular, than their power would suggest. I recall seeing a shootout in one of those old like Top Gear style VHS tapes, basically among some of the best GTs, and it was a Caterham, Aston, TVR, Porsche 911, and the TVR just ran away with it. They're so much quicker than their raw numbers would suggest, and it's no exception here. In terms of braking, it's a bit more modest. They give it a 5. I think that's a little bit too low for me. I would say it's maybe more a 6 or maybe even a 7 on braking, to be honest. It doesn't seem to have any particular issues with slowing down, so it's a bit low for me. The grip is rated as a 6. Again, I think I might have swapped those numbers around, maybe give it a 6 for braking and a 5 for grip, because being a TVR, of course, you expect to get the tail out, and you definitely can. The drift factor is an 8. That certainly feels about right. For a TVR, you can get the tail out and enjoy it quite a lot. And for top-end speed, curiously, they give it a 7. Now, based on real-world numbers, I think again I would swap that around with acceleration, because the TVR of this shape, Tuscan, Typhon, etc., it's more known for its remarkable top speed rather than acceleration. So if anything, I think the top-end speed should have been maybe an 8, and then the acceleration a 7. Maybe even a 6, because it is quick, but it's not necessarily face-rippingly quick by Project Gotham standards. Of course, you do have to remember it is a C-class car though, and as a C-category vehicle, you are going up against stuff like your Corvette Z06, the Ferrari 599, Ford GT, even stuff like the Lamborghini Miura concept, the GT3 spec Lotus Exige, Mercedes SLR, so it's in good company for sure, but again that goes to highlight what I was saying. Many of the cars that I just mentioned are 500-600 horsepower supercars, which are very well respected and very widely known, and then you have this TVR with about 440 horsepower, which is genuinely as quick as many of those. To me, that is a testament to why this car is so special in real life, and I think it really is genuinely a shame that this car did not get its chance to shine. And to me, it almost looks like what you'd get if you asked Marcos to make a TVR. It has that fastback design, that longer, more oddball shape to it, even by TVR standards, and a bit more of a touring vibe than you would typically get with a TVR. If you think about it, this is actually quite a different TVR to pretty much any of their other production models. The only other hardtop, strictly speaking, that they had even was the Sagaris by this point. And then even before that, it was pretty much just the Cerberus leading the hardtop charge. The Speed 12 obviously doesn't count as much anyway, so yeah, to me, it's easily a standout car. It's one of those that would pop up in a number of games from this era, and it's really a shame that it hasn't popped up again since, really. I could definitely see this coming back in a Forza DLC, but again, the chances seem low. Then again, I would have said that about the MG SVR, but that's in Forza now, much to my enjoyment. And of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. Did you used to love this car? Do you still love the car? And of course, if you would like to see more Project Gotham content, there is plenty already here on the channel, and there will be more in future as well. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.